I came across a really interesting op-ed. I want to explore with lots of examples that this op-ed mentioned of Trump's cognitive decline and how whenever Biden was in the race, he became, often because of a double standard, but also because of the debate performance, he became the only topic of age-related concern coverage. He was older by a little, but he was older. Now, with Harris in the race, that contrast is so wildly different, and Trump's the 78-year-old. Trump's the one with moment after moment, as was happening before, just wasn't getting enough coverage, of concerning cognitive lapses. And the latest example I'll show to you, we'll cite a few others, and we'll talk about this reporting. Here is what we talked about already in a couple segments, where at his most recent town hall in Michigan, he repeatedly asserts something that is truly nonsensical.
We're energy independent. We were soon going to be energy dominant, and we would have been now having so much money coming out of the energy. We just have the best. We have Bagram in Alaska. They say it might be as big, might be bigger than all of Saudi Arabia. I got it approved. Ronald Reagan couldn't do it. Nobody could do it. I got it done. In their first week, they terminated it. Check that one out. Bagram. Check that one out. Think about this. Between Bagram, between you go to Anwar, you take a look at the kind of things that we've given up. We should have that air base. We should have that oil. We would have had a whole different country. But to give up Anwar, to give up the biggest air base, military air base in the world, and they left it in the dark of night with the lights on, and they did leave the dogs.
What is he talking about? The clip for a lot of people cuts off once he goes, Anwar. But I think him trying to justify what he said previously is just as fascinating. Because for 20 seconds, he's saying Bagram in Alaska, Bagram being an Afghanistan airbase, and he's just then trying to correct it. It's all so flustered. So I'm not going to go through, as lots of people have done, we've done it before, just a bunch of examples of what you would call cognitive failures, but instead talk about the rambling part of this, because you have glitches, Saudi Arabia and Russia, stuff like that. You have the Nikki Haley type stuff, but there's also just, even when he's not saying things that technically are just the wrong compared to his intended idea that he's trying to articulate, right? Even when he's saying words that aren't glitchy and that I guess are what he's intending on saying, it's getting more and more nonsensical. So that I want to explore. We are so appreciative of the thousands and thousands of people who've been subscribing every single day. So let's keep it going. Our race to 1 million subscribers, we're getting so close. Any of you who haven't already, please do click that subscribe button. Back to the video. But first here, moments like that one, the Bagram moment, do lead to humiliating coverage like this from Morning Joe.
We would have been now having so much money coming out of energy. We just have the best. We have Bagram in Alaska. They say it might be as big, might be bigger than all of Saudi Arabia. I got it approved. Ronald Reagan couldn't do it. Nobody could do it. I got it done. In their first week, they terminated it. Check that one out. Bagram.
Check that out, Willie. If you got your Google machine.
Yeah, let me do that.
Check it
Bagram,
out.
Alaska. I hear there's some of the best moose hunting in all the world in Bagram,
Imagine if Joe Biden.
Alaska. Oh, wait a second.
24/7.
Bagram left.
That's a great point. It's not even that it's wrong or was wrong to cover a lot the Biden gaffes or mistakes that would lead to a lot of coverage. It's that imagine if Biden kept saying Bagram and he's trying to say Anwar, the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. And you can see in this split screen they have up, it's different. It's very different. The only similarity is maybe Alaska starts with an A, as I said, and Afghanistan starts with an A. It would be nonstop coverage of it if it were Biden. But Trump gets away with it. Not so much, not as much at least anymore, leading to op-eds like this. MSNBC, questions surrounding Trump's mental acuity are a real 2024 story. His speech is becoming harder and harder to understand. The words below were taken verbatim from a campaign speech former President Donald Trump delivered in Potterville, Michigan, Thursday, when he was attempting, at least initially, to criticize Kamala Harris's record in San Francisco, presumably referring to her tenure as district attorney there. Don't Trump translate this, okay? Don't. I'm going to read it to you like I'm talking to you, and I want you to process it as if I were saying this on the show. Okay? Because we can't hold Trump to a little baby standard. Hold him to an adult standard. She destroyed the city of San Francisco. And I own a big building there. I shouldn't talk about this, but that's okay. I don't give a damn because this is what I'm doing. I should say it's the finest city in the world. Sell and get the hell out of there, right? But I can't do that. I don't care. I lost billions of dollars. Somebody said, what do you think you lost? I said, probably 2-3 billion. That's okay. I don't care. They say, you think you'll do it again? It's hard to read his writing. Back to it. They say, you think you'd do it again? And that's the least of it. Nobody. They always say, I don't know if you know, Lincoln was horribly treated. Jefferson was pretty horribly. Andrew Jackson, they say, was the worst of all, that he was treated worse than any other president. I said, do that study again because I think there's nobody close to Trump. I even got shot. And who the hell knows where that came from, right? What is he talking about? This is, as the article notes, impossible to follow. Trump's asides stack atop each other with such density that it's dizzying for even professional political observers to discern what he's trying to get at. Why is a presidential candidate leapfrogging from talking about Harris's policy record to the bath he took on a property he owns to where he ranks on the list of horribly treated presidents? His asides themselves are often unintelligible. Before going further with this, I'll give you another example. This is Trump's response again. Stick with me. I'm not going to play the clip because I played it so many times. You can find it if you haven't seen it already. Here's the transcript again. Listen as if you're listening to an adult human, not a child. Answer a question that was, what would you do as president if you get elected to lower child care costs, make child care more affordable for Americans? Well, I would do that. We had Senator Marco Rubio and my daughter Ivanka was so impactful on that issue. It's a very important issue, but I think when you talk about the kind of numbers that I'm talking about, child care is child care. You have to have it. In this country, you have to have it. But when you talk about those numbers compared to the kind of numbers that I'm talking about by taxing foreign nations at levels that they're not used to, but they'll get used to it very quickly. And it's not going to stop them from doing business with us, but they'll have a very substantial tax when they send product into our country. Those numbers are so much bigger than any numbers that we're talking about, including childcare, that is going to take care. I look forward to having no deficits within a fairly short period of time, coupled with the reductions that I told you about on waste and fraud and all the other things that are going on in our country because I have to stay with childcare. I want to stay with childcare, but those numbers are small relative to the kind of economic numbers that I'm talking about, including growth. But growth also headed up by what the plan is that I just told you about. Do you remember what I told you about that? We're going to be taking in trillions of dollars, and as much as childcare is talked about as being expensive, it's relatively speaking not very expensive compared to the kind of numbers we'll be taking in. We're going to make this into an incredible country that can afford to take care of its people, and then we'll worry about the rest of the world. Shoot. That was me. Let's help other people, but we're going to take care of our country first. This is about America first. It's about Make America Great Again. We have to do it because right now we're a failing nation, so we'll take care of it. You have trained yourself to process that. You have. You're probably thinking, okay, so he's saying, I heard tariff. He's saying if I can just figure out something. He's saying tariffs will add to childcare. No, he's saying we're going to make so much money as a country that, and we're going to do that by taxing foreign nations through tariffs, which is not what a tariff is, but And so by bringing in so much money through his fantasy version of tariffs, we're going to be so wealthy that childcare won't be even a concern for people. But he doesn't even explain how the government making more money and us reducing deficits translates to people having more affordable childcare or makes them more wealthy. He didn't even explain that connection. He just said a bunch of words about a bunch of things and used the term numbers a bunch of times. So that's another example of what this author's talking about. Continuing, what is this alleged anecdote about his San Francisco property meant to convey? What does it even mean about how horribly presidents were treated? To cap it all off, Trump casually tossed out an insidious conspiracy theory. He implies we don't know who shot him when of course we do. Trump has been embedded in the public consciousness as a rule breaker for so long that it can be easy to forget how far he is from fulfilling the basic requirement of a politician to speak clearly. They get mad at MAGA does, that is, Kamala Harris, by the way, for occasionally using what you would call platitudes or being slightly vague. If she goes, the strength of America is really in our middle class, and the way we uplift our middle class is by investing in the ambitions that they seek to fulfill. And then they would cut her off in the clip before she explains the policies that represent that. That is too vague. She doesn't know what's going on. How dare she say, occasionally she'll say she's a middle class kid. That doesn't mean anything. We don't care. She's so vague. She can't answer a question. When she does, and they don't care about whatever you call this. This is not how politicians are supposed to speak. Trump's speeches seem to be growing more discursive and difficult to comprehend by the day. Those speeches are making it hard, if not impossible, for people listening to them to understand what he wants to do with his power in office. And they're reportedly turning off voters. They're also raising questions over whether the chaos he would sow in office would be even less intentional than it was last time. Trump's deteriorating ability to clearly communicate is a consequential feature of his 2024 candidacy. And it shows some examples, but I do want to put all of these concerns to rest because Trump has an answer to those saying that he rambles too much, that he can't speak clearly, that he's incoherent. He can put all that to rest with this.
And Mr. President, we don't mind that you give long answers because you actually have something to say, because you
Yeah, like how we're going to drill in Bagram.
Actually got something done when you were president.
It's a very interesting because she said, I don't think I've ever said this before. So we do these rallies. They're massive rallies. Everybody stays till the end, by the way. When she said that, well, your rallies, people leave. Honestly, nobody does. And if I saw them leaving, I'd say, and ladies and gentlemen, make America great again, and I'd get the hell out, okay? Because I don't want people leaving. But I do have to say, so I give these long, sometimes very complex sentences and paragraphs, but they all come together. I do it a lot. I do it with Raising Cane, that story. I do it with the story on the catapults on the aircraft carriers. I do it with a lot of different stories. When I mention Dr. Hannibal Lecter, I'm using that as an example of people that are coming in from Silence of the Lambs. I use it. They say, it's terrible. So they say, so I'll give this long, complex area. For instance, that I talked about a lot of different territory. The bottom line is, I said the most important thing. We're going to bring more plants into your state and this country to make automobiles. We're going to be bigger than before. But the fake news, there's a lot of them back there. For a town hall, there's a lot of people. But the fake news likes to say, oh, he was rambling. No, that's not rambling. That's genius when you can connect the dots. You got to. Now, Sarah, if you couldn't connect the dots, you got a problem. But every dot was connected, and many stories were told in that little paragraph. But there.
Memories were had, tears were cried, laughter was experienced during that paragraph of a journey. Or journey of a paragraph. So Some say speaking incoherently is incoherent. Some say speaking incoherently and rambling and making it really difficult to decipher what it is that you're trying to say is genius. It happens to be Trump, and that's it saying that, but some people tend to say that. You can be the judge. Honestly, I know they've done analyses of how Trump speaks even before this rapid decline lately. And he's been determined to be way, way young in how he speaks. I can't remember where he falls, but the way he explained his storytelling and his point making really does strike you as how a kid talks. Because like a little kid might go, and then I stubbed my toe and ice cream was in the car, and so whatever I got, and my mom is upset and my phone's gonna be broken. And you're going, okay, of what I've heard, that was a bad example. It was hard to think of things in the moment. I'm sorry. But from that, you might go, okay, so maybe you stubbed your toe, dropped your phone, cracked it, and at a separate point in time in the day, you spilled ice cream in the car, and that's why mom's mad, right? You have to do the piecing together. To Trump, the kid's being a genius. He's not wasting energy on formulating a thought before you say it and then saying it. He's just spitting out things impulsively, and you have to be the one who formulates it afterwards. Let me know what you thought of that in the comments. You can support the show. I'm laughing. It is a serious subject. I do think something serious is going on, but we laugh so we don't cry. And you can support the show, get the members only bonus show by clicking the join button below.